Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for tuning in to my weekly guitar blog. It is March 3rd, 2013, and this week we're going to discuss triad use in blues progressions. And this question was sent in from Natalya. She's from Oklahoma City, and she wrote in with this email to me. I was wondering if it was possible for you to demonstrate jamming on a typical blues progression using triad chords. I read an old interview with Bonnie Raitt where she said that by layering major, minor, and diminished triads, you can create interesting chord changes over blues progressions. This sounds like a neat way to play through the blues, and I would appreciate your thoughts and maybe an example that we could all practice on. Thanks for your lessons from Natalya in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Well, thanks for writing in, Natalya. You know, the sound of using triads within the blues structure is definitely one which is not only unique, but it's a lot of fun to play. Now, we can easily achieve blues harmony if we go and raise both the third and the fifth degrees of major triad, for instance, up by way of a minor third interval. And by doing this shift, we can create off that major triad a sound of dominant seventh harmony. See, what happens is the old third degree becomes the fifth of the dominant chord, and what was the fifth of the major triad will become the flat 7 degree of the dominant chord when it's raised up by that minor third. But let's not get too hung up on music theory with all this stuff. Instead, let's zoom in on the neck and have a go through a 12-bar blues that I created, which applies the dominant chord idea I just mentioned, as well as a few other triad concepts as well. To get started, I'm going to play through the 12-bar blues I came up with to help you get a better understanding of the way that these triad ideas can come together to create a very unique sounding 12-bar blues harmony. So let's get started. Here we go. Well, as you can tell, playing the 12-bar blues format with these triad chords is a very cool sound. And the best part is once you nail down some good fingerings for your fretboard hand, the shapes will be pretty smooth sailing for you. So let's get started by running through our first 4 bars. The jam is written in the key of A, of course, you probably noticed that. In measure 1, on beat 1, we just begin upon the typical open position A major triad. And next we're going to move up into a D minor triad. We'll have our A in the bass, of course, and then we'll have an E flat diminished, and then we'll wrap up on a full A dominant 7th chord. Just watch your fingering when you're switching into that E flat diminished, because you'll probably want to use your ring index and small fingers so that the move up into the full A 7th is a little bit easier for you. It's a bit of a stretch, but it'll be easier if you do that particular fingering. Now in measure 2, the first beat gets the traditional D major open position triad chord, and then we move up into G minor, and we'll have an A flat diminished, and then, of course, we'll have our D dominant 7th. As far as fingerings go, so long as you enter into the G minor with a bar, you'll be up in that third position so that the middle and ring fingers can get those, the A flat diminished and then the D7 chords. Now in measures 3 and 4, we wrap up the line with all the same chord types that we've already seen in the first 2 bars. The only difference is the ordering of the appearance of the chords. So we come from that A up into the D minor. We have our diminished and then the full dominant, but we're going to move from the dominant back to the minor. So the progression will go like this for measures 3 and 4. Okay, and that'll be our riff for those 2. Now the second line, containing measures 5 through 8, will again use the same chord voicings that we had studied in the first few measures. The only thing this time is the structure that we use from measures 3 and 4 will be applied in a similar manner to measures 5 and 6 over the D 7th chord harmony. So we'll have that same kind of shift that we had before, where it went. And then, of course, when we get to measures 7 and 8, it'll be exactly that as how we had played through measures 3 and 4, since they basically both hold true to the same harmony of an A dominant 7th chord. So it's back to this riff again. All All right, now in measure 9, it starts our whole turnaround line out here. So there's a nice chromatic interval movement that we're going to use the B and the G sharp notes from the E7 chord as we jump in there. And then they're just going to go from that first position, lay out up chromatically from that point. All the while we'll be pedaling on an open E underneath. So that's how we're going to cover the sound of that E7th there. Now, when we move up into measure 10, though, this is just going to be a carbon copy of what we used back in measure 2 for the coverage of the D chord. The only thing this time is we're going to descend instead of ascend. So we'll be coming out of the E riff, and then we'll be descending through the D riff. So we'll have that nice difference of ascending and descending between the two measures. And then what happens there on measures 11 and 12, we'll get our turnaround lick into play, which will be more chromatic movement covering the A7 chord. So that's going to be a really nice way to cover that particular chord. And then when the E7th wraps up at the end, we're going to have a hammer on that'll go from a G open to a first fret G sharp. And then we'll have the B open come in and the E open on top. So, and then back to the E in the bass there. So that's going to be a really nice turnaround section. I'll play it slowly for you. So the sound generated and the theory involved from applying all of these triads throughout a typical 12-bar blues is actually a pretty simple concept to both understand theoretically, and with a little practice, it's really not all that difficult to work into your playing either. The 12-bar progression we covered has some excellent examples within it, and if you want to take this one step further, try transposing this harmony into a few other key signatures using the same harmonic structure off of each chord. I'm sure that you'll have just as much fun transposing and getting further creative with this blues triad application idea as I had making the progression that we just finished working on here in the video. Anyway, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great week, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now.